My name's Rob Eva. I work for SRAM Corporation. We're a bicycle component manufacturer. I've been with the company 17 years. I'm the general manager and love working here.
So Rob, what got you involved in mountain biking in the first place?
Well, at school I was a runner. It was cheap, it was easy, and that's what you did at school, a little athletics, and I got into cross-country running. But my real passion was riding off-road motorbikes, enduros. So I did that for quite a while, and I got to a point where it was hard work, it's expensive to ride off-road motorbikes, and the running it was kind of hard as well. So what I did was I found mountain biking, and I found that was an amalgamation of off-road motorbike riding and running. And so you needed the physiology to be a mountain biker, and you need the skills of being a motorbike rider. So I fell into mountain biking and loved it.
So can you give us an idea, Rob, of what mountain bike riding was like when you first started out? I mean, it's advanced so much in such a short period of time recently. Paint the picture for us when you first started.
Oh, way back then, no, not like that. So we started off on a lot of fire roads. You know, we always had to conquer that hill, so you had to get up to the top of the hill, and you know, there wasn't much single track, as you could call it, like there is today. We started off riding animal trails like kangaroo trails or some obscure walking trails which have developed into mountain bike trails. You know, we would ride places like Listerfield, but you'd have to stick to the fire roads and a little bit of kangaroo track here and there. You know, we'd ride over the top of the Dandenongs, or we'd ride to Warburton. But as it's evolved, you know, you've got specific mountain bike trails, you've got specific mountain bike areas, you know, with particular skill levels. But back when you started, you really didn't have that stuff. So there's a lot of fire road. We used to race up on fire roads and down on fire roads, and just trying a little bit of single track. But it has evolved a lot since those days.
How long did you compete professionally?
Professionally, as a paid rider, I'm going to say it was about 6 or 7 years. So I was working a full-time job back in those days. Mountain biking wasn't quite recognised like it is now. It was a challenge to get you know, a full-time paid gig. I did. It wasn't going to subsidise my lifestyle at all, but I did pretty well out of it for those days in the early 90s. I raced you know, at a local level, in a club level, which is the Fat Tire Flyers back in those days, and did Victorian series, and that evolved to be the Australian mountain bike series, and I went on to win 3 years of that and national championships. So I had a good run of about 6 years, travelled overseas a little bit, a fair bit, and then kind of ran into a few problems where I was running summer back-to-back, which ended my career pretty quickly. Had to take a couple of years off with chronic fatigue, and then got back into it, but not as a paid rider, as more of a high-end enthusiast, I guess you'd call it.
So you said that it wasn't subsidising an income for you. How many hours would you have dedicated to training to be at that level?
Well, back when I was working, I was working a very physical job. I was a rigger and a crane operator, and there was a lot of physical work in that. I enjoyed that style of work, that type of work, and I would ride to and from work, and then I'd have dedicated training sections, like I'd do certain rides on the way home, or I'd do 2 days a week, and then the weekend would be either intense training, riding, or depend what phase of the training in, whether I was doing slow road miles, or I was doing harder mountain bike miles, or doing a big block. It depended where I was in my training phase. It was a challenge. I was definitely riding mountain bike a lot more than road, definitely.
And what was the mountain bike you were riding?
Well, back when I started, it was a rigid, so it had no suspension on the rear, no suspension on the front. You know, it had above bar thumb shifters, we called them, above bar thumb shifters. You know, they developed into a front suspension and got some little bit bigger tyres, and then we developed to rear suspension. And back in the day, you know, we had the same bike to ride cross country and downhill. It was the same bike, and as the bike evolved, as the product evolved, as the trails got better, the bikes needed to evolve.
How have you remained in the mountain biking scene?
Mountain bike is my passion. I love it. It would be the #1 bike I'd choose to go out and ride on. It's great. It gets you off the road. You don't have to deal with angry motorist or dealing with anyone else. You know, generally if something goes wrong with a mountain bike, it's generally your problem, you know, whether it's lack of maintenance, or you can't really make excuses out in the mountain bike trails. If you crash, you crash. You know, that's just the way it is. With road, there's generally some outside elements, you know, whether it's another rider or a motorist or something else goes wrong. But I just like the challenge of mountain biking and being self-sufficient, and you really get to know people, and you can get to ride with people and you kind of need to be a real all-round rider to be a mountain biker. You know, you can't just sit on all day and then just take the sprint, you know, that sort of thing. You've got to be there, you've got to be able to do the hard yards. And mountain biking, you don't have to be just a rider, you've got to be able to climb, you've got to be able to descend, you've got to be able to do the tough times, you've got to be able to conserve. You know, whether it's training or racing, it's a very similar sort of skill, and you need to develop skills. So, you know, I chose mountain biking because I like it.
And just in terms of developing those skills, is it a case of just getting out there and doing those technical rides as often as you can, or is it, if someone's starting out, would you give any particular advice on how they can build up their technical base?
Yeah, absolutely. My advice would be ride with different people, ride with better people. Look at a lot of different scenarios. You know, choose the type of riding that suits yourself, choose the type of bike that suits yourself. Challenge yourself, you know, get some advice from people. I recommend getting a skills lesson. It always helps, you know, it's like when you're driving a car, you have to get lessons when you start driving a car, you have to be approved, but you know, you can jump on an $8,000, $10,000 mountain bike, have no skills and have some fitness and go and crash your brains out. There's not really much protection there. So I think learning the right way at the start is very, very important. And I think getting tips, because we've all made mistakes, we've been making them for 20 years. If you can avoid some of those mistakes, could be product selection, could be line choice, could be all sorts of different things. Learn from someone better than you, or there might be, you know, join a club, join a local club. It's a really good way to learn. Go and do weekly races or go and do a series and build from there. You know, get your mates involved, get your family involved. It's a really fun sport.
Speaking of clubs, there's an abundance now of grassroots level mountain bike clubs and major clubs as well. How does that make you feel for someone who started out in the early 90s to see just how far that culture's come?
I think it's really good, and it's driven by people wanting similar interests, to do similar things, go to similar places. And clubs, you know, they are still racing. Some clubs are doing trail advocacy now, where they're getting permission to ride on land, to work with local governments. And when I started, there was 0 approved mountain bike tracks. Now there's many, and there's many, many more to come. You know, you've got places like Mount Buller that have invested a lot of money. You know, you've got local governments that invested a lot of money on building development trails, building professional trail builders in, working to IMBA guidelines, and got something for the future. You know, I think local clubs play a big part on that, teaching people how to ride or giving some sort of structure as well. You know, you don't want to go riding by yourself. That's not real smart in the bush, especially when you're learning. And to go and ride with other people, and you can make lifelong friends from mountain bike clubs.
You mentioned before that when you first started professionally racing, you were working as a rigger. What got you to SRAM?
I guess I was taking a lot of holidays, you could say. I would take our winter, the American summer off, and I would go overseas and work, and I would work for some companies over there. And it got to the point where I was earning some okay money from riding a bike, from managing a team. You know, the team I was managing was Team GT, and Graham Southcott was the gentleman there that was running that. And we had similar interest, and we would take Australian riders over there to America, and we would develop them and help them with their career and their path. And that was also an entrance to the parent company as well. And it tended to work. And you know, when I came back and I weighed it all up, you know, I really didn't need to go back during that summer to go and work again as a rigger, when I could just follow my passion, which was cycling and bikes.
Right. Can you give us an idea of what your role now entails?
My role as a general manager, I've been here 17 years, as I've said. We're a component manufacturer. We don't make any components in this country, unfortunately. We're a global manufacturer. We make them all over the world, and we have a facility now in Australia with 6 people. We have a dedicated OEM sales guy. We have a team of dedicated mechanics. We have a dedicated school teacher. We have several people that work in marketing as well and help with that. So we do mountain bike marketing, road marketing, cyclocross. We try and help events. We try and work with particular promoters. How I got involved with that is, I guess, just passion and working with people that have similar interests to us and myself. SRAM is a great company to work with. They're progressive, they're innovative. One of the most favourite things to do is work and ride with prototype product. It's not always the best product, but you learn from that. The product's got to start from somewhere, and there's a lot of ideas, concepts from great ideas, and to develop them to a production product is a long road, sometimes 3 to 4 years, and I'm part of that and I really enjoy it.
In the 17 years that you've been GM at SRAM, what is one of the standout innovations that makes you most proud to be part of the team?
I think it's a global team. I think, to isolate one product wouldn't be fair. I mean, there's so many success stories from SRAM, with RockShox to Zip to, our one-by drivetrain. But I'd say it's our global team, from product development to production to sales to marketing. It's a good team. We're working hard together. I enjoy working with all these guys. And I'm in such a position, I've just got back from Europe last week where I've got to learn about model year 16 and concept model year 17 product. I'm very excited where the brand's going and what we're doing. I see some of the guys here down in the workshop and they get all the bad news. They're working on, this brake or there's a problem there. But when they get out in the field and get to work with athletes that are winning and using our product and winning Olympics or Tour de France's or road events, it's exciting times. It really is.
Fantastic. Tell us about the best mountain biking destination in the Southern Hemisphere. Can there be one?
Look, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this because part of my job is I travel a lot. So part of my role is I look after Australia, South Africa and New Zealand. If I had to pick one, I'd have to probably pick Rotorua in New Zealand. I think that would be one of my favourite, but I think Queenstown is also very good, so I don't want to get my Queenstown friends offside. But Australia is coming along, like Cairns is regenerated. I think Mount Buller is a really good place to go. I really like riding my hometown tracks as well. I can't talk about them because not every one of them's illegal. But I think New Zealand, that's going to get a big boost next year as well with Crankworks going there, and we're going to get a World Cup back there very shortly as well. So New Zealand would be my favourite.
Rotorua stands out for many people who answer that question. Can you explain why?
When you go to the town, and I think, I don't want to give McDonald's a plug here, but when you see Dodgy's photo up on there, and the main point, Rotorua is mountain biking. The town gets it. The local government there invested a lot of money early. The New Zealand government got behind it, the way they build their trails, their infrastructure. Pretty much every accommodation accommodates mountain bikes. They're happy to have your mountain bike. They've got a washing area there. The Air New Zealand allow for mountain biking to be landed there, so you can fly in there. There's no other place in the world that mountain biking is number one in terms of logistics. Unfortunately, I haven't got to ride many places in Europe. I do ride a lot. I've done a lot of road riding there, some mountain biking. I think Les to Alps is one of my favourites in Europe. I really enjoyed that. That's right opposite Alpe d'Huez. In fact, you can see the whole mountain there. In US, anywhere Colorado, basically. Colorado is a fantastic place to ride. The people get it. There's a lot of outdoorsy place. Really hard to go away from Canada. Canada would probably be my favourite there. Everyone talks about Whistler. It is the grand final of everything. It is fantastic. But Mont Saint Anne, they do a great job. They've got the best World Cup there every year. They've got some great trails. Even over on the west coast of America, Mount Snow, places like that. There's some beautiful places to ride, and that's one part of my job is variety. I wouldn't say one place is my favourite place because you can get sick of it after a week or 2 weeks. I like to mix it around, but anywhere Colorado Springs, I love it.
Fantastic. Rob, you mentioned that you've got a school here. Can you take us around and show us?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's take you around and I'll show you all about SRAM head office here in Rowville. Okay, come for a walk. So welcome to the classroom. Come on in. So this in here is our classroom. We have James Lewis, who is our STU student, who is lucky enough to be over at Whistler this time of year working over in summer while we freeze here over here in Melbourne. But this is our classroom. So this is where we teach our dealers and our bicycle mechanics. So whether it's a team mechanic or someone who's interested in learning SRAM, you just come through and have a look. So over here are some of the products that we work on. So as you can see, it's a nice clean environment. Hopefully we'd like to see bike shops look like this, but you get to work on lots of different models of forks, suspension with RockShox. Get to work on different products in here, brakes and suspension, and soon we'll be getting to work on the new RS1 fork and new road hydraulic brakes as well. So quite interesting. So when the mechanics come over here, and they're generally 2 per bench, sometimes it's 1, depending it is. As you can see, it's a nice clean environment here. You get a checklist of all the tools and the forks you're working on. But then also, if you look over here in the cupboard, it's quite nice. Everything's laid out to a particular standard, and you get a little booklet in there that shows you how everything should look. And we award prizes who's got the cleanest bench as well. So that's all part of it. But what we're here for is to help mechanics or bike shops become better bike shops and service their customers better. Because it's really important that you've got to understand most mountain bikes nowadays come standard with a hydraulic suspension or hydraulic brakes, and they need servicing regularly. Of course, these guys are going to get quite hungry, so we've got a nice area here they can sit down. They get their nice zip tables with a disc wheel here to sit on. Unfortunately, we don't have any students here today. But we have a fully catered lunch every day for the guys. It's a warm lunch. And then part of it as well is the training. If you see out the window there's lots of different bikes, and you get to ride on different bikes out there. Part of the training is you have to ride a mountain bike and set up the mountain bike and have it set up correctly as well. So if you come through in here, put your school bags up in here, and this is where the catered lunch should be. So we have a really good high quality coffee machine. We have everything on hand, so we have snacks for the students. We have a fully catered fridge. Normally you've got some beer in there, but that's for a little bit later, so we'll keep that on the down low. Come through into the SRAM office and I'll show you what happens in here. Okay, so in this area here is a little makeshift bike shop. So what we do is bring our students in here early, and they'll learn the history of SRAM and why we were at today, and a little bit about the product. All that product just hasn't happened overnight. It's taken 27 years to get where we're at today. And some of the history of SRAM is up here on the end wall. We also keep a little bit of our spare parts in here and things you'll need to keep our product working in the field or at your bike shop. So you can see there's things, tools over here to shorten brakes. There's parts to service brakes. There's parts to service forks. You've got all sorts of dampers in here, seal kits, cables. We carry a lot, and bike shops need to know that this stuff is available. So there's some of the museum there, some of the old product there that started years and years ago. And right now we're very happy with what we've got here at SRAM, and we encourage people to come out here and have a look. And we've got our boardroom down the end here as well. So this is where some of our meetings happen with US. We have weekly meetings with our counterparts in Colorado Springs or Chicago. So we'll go in there and we'll Skype in there, or we'll do some sort of system. And this is my office. Excuse the mess here at the moment. But I've got a pretty good view of the city. I can see what the weather's coming for our lunchtime rides. And then of course, we don't want to forget our work dog, wherever she is. Come here, come on Carly. So we've got a work dog here, and this is Carly. She comes into work every day. As you can see, she's got a SRAM collar on there, and she's got her own bed. Go on, into bed. She's got her own bed over there with a frog on it. So she's an important part of our team here as well. Okay, welcome to downstairs. This is our dealer service direct. So this is the area where bike shops can call, and they can call our 1-800 number or our direct number and get one of our customer service guys who are busy working on forks at the moment. So let's just wander through and see what they're up to. So this is our workshop in here. So we've got Andy, Dave and Dylan working over here. So they're working on particular products at the moment. Looks like Andy's working on a reverb seat post. I don't know what Dave's working on a rear shock, and Dylan's working on suspension over there. So these guys work 5 days a week in here. They support all dealers, and we support all of our sponsored riders here as well, whether it's road or mountain bike. We can service all of our products in here, from Zip to Quark, RockShox, Avid, and of course SRAM products. So these guys have been with SRAM many, many years. They do events for us as well. So Dave's a downhiller. Andy supports our mountain bike side of it. And Dylan looks after the sports marketing for mountain bikes. So as you come out here, this is our workshop area, our warehouse area, excuse me. So you can see our neutral race support vehicles. At the moment we've got a product coming in and out, but these are the vehicles we'll be using for the upcoming neutral NRS races and getting ready for the summer of cycling in Australia.